In this video, we're going to continue talking about the comparison and contrast assignment. Please have your assignment out next to you or have it up on one of your tabs. And I'm on the Tuesday after spring break. This is week 9. I have up to week 10 published. I'm going to work on the rest and have the rest of the class built out when we get back from spring break. But right now, I want us to look at, so you see the video, I have the video up there where I talk about the assignment. I want us to spend a few moments and look at these page numbers I have, specifically 305 to 328. So I'm going to click on those. All right, comparison and contrast. So I'm basically going to walk through these pages, and hopefully everybody has an idea of what they're comparing, contrasting, what you're choosing, what you're talking about, what your paper is going to be on. My goal was for you to watch that last video and jot down some ideas. So we're going to specifically tie those ideas to these pages. And then after we look at these pages, I'll upload another video in a few days, similarly to assignment 2, where you outline the paper. You start to outline and map out the paper. So let's get going. Comparison, contrast. And some of this stuff I'm going to read, but I'm not going to read all these pages word for word. I mean, they're up here to look at, so you should consult these. All right, so comparison and contrast are two thought processes we go through constantly in everyday life. When we compare two things, we show how they are similar. When we contrast two things, we show how they are different. We may compare and contrast two brand name products, Pepsi and Coke, two television shows, two cars, two teachers, two jobs, two friends, or two possible solutions to a problem we are facing. The purpose of comparing or contrasting is to understand each of the two things more clearly and at times to make judgments about them. So that's what I want you to do for this paper. Remember my example, the Starbucks versus Dunkin' or something like that, the two shows. Comparing, contrasting, and you're making judgments. You'll be asked in this chapter to write an essay that emphasizes comparison and or contrast. To prepare for this assignment, first read about the two methods of development you can use in writing your essay. So here is the two things, the two examples. If you look at our assignment sheet, I want you to write at least one paragraph. I don't really care how you construct your paper. I'll help you when we do the outline. But I want at least one paragraph to follow this subject by subject or one side at a time, right? And like I said in the previous video, the Starbucks, you're talking about Starbucks coffee first, then Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And here's the subject by subject, one side at a time. This writer, for one thing, going to the chalet is more difficult than going to McDonald's. The chalet is some fancy restaurant. And you notice the first part of this paragraph talks about the chalet and the second part talks about McDonald's. The chalet has a jacket and tie rule, which means I have to dig a sport coat and tie out of the back of my closet, make sure they're semi-clean, and try to steam out the wrinkles somehow. The chalet also requires reservations. Since it is downtown, I have to leave an hour early to give myself time to find a parking space within 6 blocks of the restaurant. The chalet cancels reservations if a party is more than 10 minutes late. So the first half of the paragraph is about the chalet. The second half is about McDonald's. Going to McDonald's, on the other hand, is easy. I can feel comfortable wearing my jeans or a warm-up suit. I don't have to do any advanced planning. I can leave my house whenever I'm ready and pull into a doorside parking space within 15 minutes. So the main idea topic sentence is going to the chalet is more difficult. And the first half looks at how difficult it is going to the chalet. The second half looks at how easy it is to go to McDonald's. So this is how you'll model one of your paragraphs in your body. Starbucks coffee is better than Dunkin' Donuts. Starbucks coffee uses higher quality ingredients, blah, blah, blah. Dunkin' Donuts coffee tastes like mop water, so you'll talk about the one then the other. That's the one side at a time, subject by subject. The first half of this paragraph fully explains one side of the contrast, the difficulty of going to the chalet. The second half of the paragraph deals entirely with the other side, the ease of going to McDonald's. When you use this method, be sure to follow the same order of points of contrast or comparison for each side. And there's the outline of a paragraph, right? Here's the other paragraph, body paragraph I want you to use, point by point. This paragraph includes one point about one topic and then juxtaposes it with the point about the other topic. Now look at this supporting paragraph, which is taken from a student literary analysis essay called The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight with Smoke Signals. The book and film both illustrate how desperately Victor desires his father's love. Smoke Signal shows this desire only through Victor's eyes, whereas The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven uses the collective stories and emotions of the residents on the reservation to show that Victor's desires are shared by many. You see, it has a thought or a point about one and then immediately a point about the other. This is different than subject by subject. And because my father always said he was the only Indian who saw Jimi Hendrix play the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock, the reader sees Victor's pain and longing as he sits at his drunken father's feet while listening to Hendrix. In A Train is an order of occurrence designed to lead to some result, the reader's emotions are once again tugged as Samuel, isolated and distanced from his children, lies down in front of an oncoming train. These incidents demonstrate that the father-son connection is not just Victor's problem, but a reservation problem. Like most of the book's characters, Victor doesn't have a moment of enlightenment, a true happy ending. Instead, he continues to fumble through a series of good and bad moments, much as might happen in real life. In contrast, the film focuses only on Victor's path to enlightenment from a broken-hearted angry boy needing his father to a healed mature adult. With the help of the new humorous Thomas, Victor travels to Phoenix to claim his father's belonging. After Victor is given his father's ashes, he realizes the anger he has clung to so tightly for 15 years has been self-defeating. He lets the anger go and experiences a rebirth. The Victor that returns to the reservation is a new person, a man. So, again, you see this. The paragraph contrasts a short story collection and a film point by point. It makes a point about the story collection, then a point about the film, a point about the story collection, a point about the film. And then you see the outline of that here, the point by point. Book, film, book, film. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, food. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, right? So when you do the point by point paragraph, again, you make a point about the one thing and then a point about the other thing. All right. It says right here, decide what style you'll use. I want you to include one paragraph in each style in your paper. So you're going to have at least one subject by subject paragraph and one point by point. And you can construct your whole paper like this. You don't have to, but I at least want you to construct one body paragraph using each format. And then we have the student essays. I'm not going to read these essays word for word, but it's a good idea to look at them practicing comparison contrast, whereas this guy likes to go to McDonald's over the chalet. And you can read this and look at this. I'm not going to read it. Makes points there, right? There's the points it makes. You could follow that. And then here, this follows the film versus the short story collection, the Sherman Alexie. So you see it does point by point, right? And you see my notes all over it. Again, you can read this and check it out at your leisure. I'm not going to read this whole thing. So there's that. It keeps going. And so there it is. All right. Here are some moments that talk about, ask you to answer questions. I don't care if you do this. I mean, it'll help you. But this kind of keeps walking through more notes about comparison, contrast. These are, questions here that walks it through. Developing a comparison and contrast essay, consider purpose and audience. To make a point by including examples that show how distinct items or people are either similar or different. But I will also want you to include which one you like more, which one works more. If you like Starbucks over Dunkin' Donuts. If you're comparing, contrasting Halloween versus Nightmare on Elm Street, I want you to look at one that you like more and why. But you can also simply make comparisons and contrast, similarities and differences. But again, read this part. I'm not going to sit here and read this word for word. It's important. Developing through pre-writing. Hopefully you've all done some pre-writing. Hopefully you brainstorm. I really hope you have your topic of what you want to compare and contrast. All right, if you're struggling, again, like I'm repeating myself now, but if you're struggling to come up with something, please email me and we can talk through it together. So this talks about pre-writing. When you choose your topic, just start brainstorming. Just start writing down a bunch of notes, constructing a bunch of ideas. What are some specifics about it? What are some similarities, difference? Which one do you like more? Why? What are some different options? Be extremely detailed. Map out your paper to where you're going to get to 3 pages. And this helps you. If you're struggling to get to the full pages, look at these examples. Look at these bullets. Again, see, outline. I'm going to want you to construct an outline for this paper. Again, I'm not going to collect it, but it's going to help you write the paper, and I'll walk through that in the next video. Here's the pre-writing, development through revision. This is a good essay, Born to be Different, a model essay to consider, comparison, contrast. Read this. I'm not going to read it to you. You see all my notes on it. So, and there's some questions on it. This pre-writing again, revising, all this stuff that we talked about. Again, this is all up here. I'm not going to walk through and read all this, although the more you spend time on this, the more helpful it'll be. Here's your checklist. I'm going to construct another checklist as well that walks through it. But before I get off here, just one more time, again, the subject by subject paragraph. Let me get back to the beginning, which is one side at a time. You're talking about one aspect or one thing in the first half of the paragraph and the other in the second half of the paragraph. Point by point, you're making a point about one and then the point about the other. So, and those are the 2 body paragraphs I want you to use. My next video, we'll start to outline the paper and map it out. I'll pull up a Word document and map it out. I'll use a sample of what I would write on and walk through that. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you're stuck, if you don't know what to write about, please email me and I'll help you out. All right, everybody. Talk to you all soon.